Okay, first of all, no one is gonna comment on my attire. This video is totally not shot after the introduction video. Totally not. Well, welcome to Not Suhas. My name is Suhas, and in this video, we'll be explaining the simple rock paper scissors projects which I made. Now, why am I making simple Python program? You might ask. That is because I am a person who likes Java and has a bit of knowledge in Java programming. And now that I wanted to switch from Java to Python, I wanted to know more about the indentation, the syntax, and all those stuff. So, making this rock paper scissors game helped me understand indentation, loops, conditions, and all those things. Well, let's dive into the project. Rock paper scissors. If you're not from the generation where Skibidi Toilet and all those things are famous, you might remember this game called as Rock Paper Scissors. It's a simple game where you represent rock paper scissors with gestures like for rock you use this, for paper you use this, for scissors you use this. And the game premises is simple. There are two players. Let's assume player 1 and player 2, and let's say player 1 chooses scissors and player 2 chooses paper. Like using the signs, scissors cuts paper, so scissors wins here. Let's say player 1 chooses paper and the player 2 chooses rock. In scientific way, paper covers rock, so paper wins here. And let's say player 1 chooses rock and player 2 chooses scissors. So scissors cannot destroy the rock, so rock destroys the scissors here. So rock wins here. It's a pretty simple game to understand. Now, I did not really wanted to make a simple program which says like, what is your choice? Rock, what is your choice? Paper, what is your choice? So, boom, you win, you lose. So I wanted to add some features like a player can play against a computer, a player can play against a player, and so on. Now, let's look at the code and execution part of it. Welcome to the rock, paper, scissors game implemented in Python. It's a pretty simple code. Before looking at the code, let's look at the execution. So when you execute the program, we get few texts. First text welcoming us to the game, and we have two modes. First mode being player versus computer, and second mode being player versus player. Now that I'm single, let's choose one. And when you choose your mode, the program asks us to choose what options you want to go for. To implement this code, I have given every gesture a value. So 0 for rock, 1 for paper, and 2 for scissors. For the implementation, let's choose scissors. And well, I chose scissors, computer also chose scissors. It's a draw. Do I want to play again? Yes. Again, let's choose the same game mode, player versus computer. And now let's choose rock. Computer also chose rock. It's a draw. Do I want to play again? Yes. Why is it just giving me draw? I want to win once. Or let the computer win once. Let's choose scissors again. It's again draw. What is this? Wait. People will be like, this is scripted. This is not scripted. Let's choose one. Okay, there we go. I chose paper, computer chose scissors, and the computer wins. Do you want to play again? Let's. Yes. Now let me show you the working of player versus player. Mode 2. So when I choose mode 2, it asks for the player input 1, input for the player 1, input for the player 2. Let's choose 1 and 2. So player 1 chose paper, player 2 chooses scissors. Here player 2 wins. Do you want to play again? No. That was the execution of the program. Hopefully you understood how it works, and it's very simple. It's not very complicated. I didn't want it to make it complicated. So let's look at the code. Now, as I've explained in the execution, I've assigned each gesture with some value, rock being 0, paper being 1, scissors being 2. Now I have stored these values in a dictionary and given it to a variable called val. Now I've used a while loop here. You can also use functions, but functions might be a bit complicated because if you want to do this, you can use two functions, I'm gonna guess, one for logic, or three, one for input, one for logic, one for modes. So why I used while loop here is because if I use functions, we can get recursion depth in functions. So that might be a bit chaotic. This being a simple program, I don't want to go inside recursion depth and stuff. So I used loops here, but you can do it. I have implemented in functions also, and it also works properly. But for the longevity, loops are better for the implementation. So I have taken a mode variable which uses input method, which takes input using input method and converts it into integer using the int method. We have used three conditions here. If the user chose mode equals to 1, then the user has selected player versus computer mode. To generate computer's choice, I have imported random module. Now I don't want every single round to be same, like the computer's choice being same. So I have used random module. Inside random module, we have a choice method, which takes lists as an input, and in those lists it selects any random value. So I have stored that in R num, being random number, that is computer's choice. Now why we are using 0, 1, 2 is because we select the value from the dictionary. And I have also taken users input using the input method and converted that into integer. Now based on these two variables, we display what is user's choice and what is computer's choice. And this is the simple logic of the game. If both user and computer's choice is same, then it's a draw. But if user chooses rock and computer chooses scissors, then the user wins. Same for the other choices, and I've only implemented 3 conditions here because I did not want to like all other cases the computer will win. So there is no need of giving 6 choices for 3 choices being for user winning and 3 choices being for computer winning. So I just made 3 choices here, and a else case where every other thing every other scenario computer will win. And let's say here the user chooses mode 2, very similar. Mode 2 is player versus player. So we take first user's input and we take second user's input using input method and convert that into integer by using int method. We print both player 1's choice and player 2's choice using this line, and the same logic which we implemented here will be implemented here. Now let's say the user by mistakenly types something else like mode equals to 3 or mode equals to 5 or -1 or something. To handle that, we use else case, which tells us it's an invalid input. Please select a valid input. To implement the play again thing, like if you see here, it asks us every single round, the program asks us, do you want to play again? If it's yes, then it repeats. If not, then it does not repeat. So we have implemented using this. If the player input for this is anything like except for y, then the player does not want to play again. He does not want to continue. So we'll just print a statement saying thank you for playing and break this loop. So the use of this loop is basically because of this. That's the implementation of the game. Now let's look at the GitHub repo. This is the repository. It explains all the things which I have explained in the video. It shows us all the features and how the gestures and all work, how to install it, how to cloud it, and if you want to like add your own features or if you want to play around with it, then I will link this GitHub repository in my description. And for the future scopes like improvements, what we can do is add a score tracker. Here we don't have any score tracker or something. It's just we can just keep on playing. So we can add a score tracker. We have to make the input validation. We have to add input in validation, like for this user and u1 u2 we have to add input validation because if the choice is anything else except for 0, 1, 2, then the program might break here. We can implement that by using try catch, but I did not want it to complicate the program, so I did not implement it. But we can do that by using try catch. That's a future scope. We can add best of n. We can, in the future, I want to use OpenCV and implement this game using the gestures, like actual gestures using the camera, and we can absolutely convert this into a proper GUI version. These are the future scopes which I might work on it. So this is the repository. You can just download this and run this main.py and you'll get the game. Do try the game and let me know how it is. Just thinking, how can I explain this line more better? How can this make sense to the other person's brain? Well, anyways, the whole program is properly like under comments. So each line, why it is there, what is there, you can just read the comment lines and understand it. And also you can use the GitHub repository. It has a proper explanation and description to it, and I'll link that in the description. And if you think you can make it better, like adding features or fixing stuff, then do fork it and send me a request. I look into it, and if it's really proper and if it's really good, then I might add it to the main branch. But who knows? Yeah, that was the video. Hopefully you all enjoyed. I surely did. This was a pretty new thing to me. See you all in the next one. Till then, peace.